1,460. That's how many days it is until January 20th, 2021. Or the first day in which Donald Trump might possibly not be president. It's a lot to absorb, especially for people who are expecting government to do no harm. For those people, this transition isn't the easiest. For people who are hoping that this transition will represent change, I am fearful that the changes will not prove to be substantial, but rather divide people further into haves and have-nots, and cans and cannots. The central idea behind this sermon today is a quote from Octavia Butler. She says, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. What is Octavia Butler talking about? These particular thoughts, that the world can be summed up by the changes that occur around us, are included in what we would call both process philosophy and process theology. Okay? Right? For a minute, though, I want you to imagine that you have a lot of space around you. You use this sometimes when you stretch and you take up all the space. I want you to imagine that that's the space you have around you right now. Don't bonk your neighbor. Just imagine that space. That's how much space there is for all the ideas, beliefs, and thoughts that you bring with you today. And we're going to have this specific conversation. I want you to think of process thought as one of the ways to measure what happens in the world. The measuring stick in process thought is change. That's why people sometimes sum up process theology as the notion that not only does God change us, but we also change God. In that way, God isn't loved or worshiped. Instead, God is perceived, shaped, and ultimately the field or the ground of transformation. As people participating in the process of change, both changed and changers, you become agents of co-creation with the larger forces at work in the universe. A bigger question is this: how does being a co-creator of change affect the way you live your life each day? I'm going to read you a quote now from Amiri Baraka. She says, "People did not send you to college so you could just drift off into the woods reciting Shakespeare. They sent you to college so that you could come back home and help them fight." You understand that? To come back and help us. Help your old parents who have been fighting all these years. Now it is your turn to come back here with more information and the same heart that you had before. I want to urge you with this same spirit. You don't come here to this community, excuse me, and this congregation so you can wander off into your daily life with happy quotes and sunshine feelings. You are here to prepare your heart to be a better human. You are here to prepare your actions to be the edge of creation. You are here to prepare your will to last for the long haul, for the next 1,460 days, give or take a few. The tricky part about the long haul is that to perceive the future in the things you do today is a little confusing. People tend to use time as a way to break up the unclear future into measurable pieces. But it isn't always measurable for us how change works. What was the moment in which freedom to marry gained enough strength to be ordinary and not just fantastical? What were the thousands or even millions of just acts that accumulated into the passage of the Affordable Care Act? If time plus change equals new futures, how do you account for the change you want to see? Time brings change from the future into the present, because the things you're doing right now, they equal change. I believe that no matter our specific political affiliations, we dream together and act together for a vision of beloved community that resists human degradation and disconnection. When I talk to you about resistance from this pulpit, in no way am I asking you to choose between an elephant and a donkey. I'm asking you to say yes to humanity. One of the immediate takeaways is that every moment counts. The moments when you care for yourself are resistance. They make you available to the greater purpose of your life. The moments that you care for your family are resistance. The people that you love and the people that love you pull you forward into that new future. The moments that you care for your community, whether you teach or do committee work, whether you offer refreshments or make music, these are resistance. You are the antidote to isolation. You are the tonic for depleted human hearts and weakened human wills. And when you come here and your heart is depleted and your emotions are running sad, we are the ones who are waiting for you. We know that our possibility is greater for the future as we move together. We hold on to each other, and we hold out for this possibility. If you haven't found the spot in this community where you can plug in your gifts and talents, I want to encourage you to think about what excites you. What work do you like to do? What work are you good at? Now is the time to start building a new future by doing that work in this community. If you need help plugging in, you can always ask me about it. I can point you in the right direction. Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams put it this way: the work over time, with all due respect to Gandhi, is not to be the change we wish to see in the world, but instead to let ourselves be truly transformed, and then, by our presence and example, to become the catalyst for the transformation of others, and through them, eventually, the transformation of the world. This is a really specific way to talk about process thought. The process of changing you changes others and changes the world. But if you don't do your work, then a different process happens. You cannot assume that if you do not engage in creative change and transformation, you will stay the same. You're familiar with this in scientific terms. You know that creation is caused by energy that goes into a system. And so if this was a puzzle in a box, I couldn't shake it up, set it down, and expect the puzzle to be assembled. The disorganization in a system is what we call entropy. The more I shake it, the more it will be disorganized. And, as the reading during our quiet time earlier, this community can be compared to a living organism in that way. We could call it a body in which each of you are a cell. This is why where you put your energy matters. This is why Canvas is an opportunity beyond the obvious. It's an instrument by which you direct your energy back into the community. It's an investment that you make now for the community that you want to be part of later. In a way, today you is doing future you a big favor. There's an additional thing you should consider. It's this. Creative transformation is one possibility. Falling back into disorder is part of our natural process. And as a counterweight to both of these is a very important point, that your transformation doesn't only happen for yourself. It's in the community, as a cell in a larger organism, that you are able to reflect the power and the possibility of everything we are together. Peter Block writes extensively on the nature of transformation in community. He reflects that to create an alternative future, we need to advance our understanding of the nature of communal or collective transformation. How many of you, just give me a nod, a wave, a wink, how many of you are familiar with the concept of parallel play? Have you heard of that before? So it's a developmental stage for humans. When some humans are small, like preschool age, they can imagine of themselves as playing together. But in fact, each child is contributing their effort toward their own game. Once I observed two children playing in this way. They were playing together. One of them was playing house. The other one was playing grocery store. Right? We laugh about it, but one of the things that reflects is the way that individual self-improvement can work out. Towns full of people who have improved themselves but have forgotten at the same time to improve their communities. I know that many of you are connected to work in your towns that invests in new futures. But I want to mention this problem in case some of you have overlooked it, and overlooked the way that participating in the transformation of a community can cause unprecedented and unpredicted futures. I want to take a minute and say that one of the ways we give consideration to community is to build connections among and between ourselves. We have participated with a few small groups, coordinated with monthly themes. But in the new year, and in this time of transition, we are amplifying our efforts by changing the group to a resilience circle. A resilience circle has three purposes: learning, mutual aid, and social action. We are at the beginning of the process, building structure and connections, so there is still time and space for you to join. We talked about a name for the group, and so far are considering resisting dystopia or creating utopia. And the names are cool, it's true, but it's the purpose, the work, and the connection that really matter. Our next meeting is February 1st at 7 p.m. after choir practice. Robert Putnam observed the health of communities and quantified it this way. He found that community health, educational achievement, local economic strength, and other measures of community well-being were dependent on the level of social capital that exists in a community. In other words, a community's well-being has to do with the quality of the relationships or the cohesion that exists among its citizens, or in our case, members, right? He called that web of relationships and their connectedness social capital. Social capital is about acting on and valuing our interdependence and our sense of belonging. It is the extent to which we extend hospitality and affection to one another. If Putnam is right to improve the common measures of community health, economy, education, health and safety, the environment, we need to create a community where each person has the experience of being connected to those around them and knows that their safety and success are dependent on the success of all others. I've talked to you about this before and put it in a very simple way. I'm going to remind you, in case you forgot. All of us need all of us to make it. Today it was important for me to challenge you, to remind you of what lies in our journey ahead, and to remind you that we are journeying together. I hope that you can hear the challenges and also imagine the joy of continuing together. But your heart may be heavy, and you may still be worried. If that's the case, I want to leave you with this blessing from Alice Walker. She reminds us that more is possible. A blessing. Don't try so hard. It comes in a shiver sometimes in a winter window pane, wild with the unseeable, frozen there in the ice, the shapes above clouds, the score and the libretto of wind, the plot of waves. Don't try so hard. Sometimes it falls a flake at a time into your life while you're asleep. Sometimes it comes as winter blankness, waiting for storm or ice or thaw or even wind. And then the still air groans, and the trees crack, and the swamp shudders, and the woods thrill. Sometimes it comes when you least expect it, and sometimes it doesn't. Quiet, still, no voice, even small. No whirlwind, no reply, no burning, just a bare winter bush. This is God too. The space between stars where noise goes to die, and the space between atoms where charges thin out. These are places too. The moment in the movement of the soul where all seems to stop, seized up. This is true too. Ice is also and dormancy, and I don't mean the stirring of seeds beneath the snow, but the place between and the moment before, and I don't mean the lightning bolt, but what it passes through. I don't mean a dream, but dumb sleep. Not a thing is sometimes a thing. At the end and before the beginning is time too. Let it alone. Don't try so hard. This is God too. All of you is.